The Dangerous Alliance was a heel professional wrestling stable that made a name for itself in World Championship Wrestling in the early 1990s and the American Wrestling Association in 1987, with Adrian Adonis, Randy Rose, and Dennis Condrey making up the Hour incarnation of the group. History: American Wrestling Association. In the spring of 1987, Paul E. Dangerously formed the Dangerous Alliance with Adrian Adonis and the original Midnight Express in the American Wrestling Association. In October 1987, Dangerously successfully led Condrey and Rose to win the Hour World Tag Team Championship from Mid-South legends Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee, only to lose the titles to the Midnight Rockers 2 months later. Dangerously also helped Adonis in his feud with Tommy Rich in his bid to win the Hour International Television Championship, in which Adonis lost the title in a tournament final to Greg Gagne. By 1988, the Dangerous Alliance disbanded, as Dangerously, Condrey, and Rose left the Hour, while Adonis died that July in a van accident during a tour in Canada. World Championship Wrestling Halloween Havoc. After Dangerously was fired as an announcer for World Championship Wrestling, the precursors to resurrecting his stable came at a Halloween Havoc pay-per-view in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Prior to the show, announcer Eric Bischoff was working as a valet in the parking lot when Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham pulled up and got out of their car. Heel wrestlers Arn Anderson and Larry ZBYSZKO ran up to Bischoff and Windham and slammed the car door on Windham's hand, breaking it. It was from this incident that ZBYSZKO gained his nickname from around this time, the Cruncher. Later at the same show, the mysterious WCW Halloween Phantom appeared, and squashed Tom Zenk in a match using a reverse neckbreaker. Then, in an interview segment with Bischoff, Dangerously brought out the Phantom and had him unmasked to reveal the returning, ravishing Rick Rude. Dangerously stated that even though he had been fired as a commentator, he still had his manager's license, and would use Rude to exact his revenge on the company that fired him. Clash of the Champions 17. The storyline was furthered at Clash of Champions #Clash of Champions 17 on November 19, 1991 in Savannah, Georgia. At the beginning of the clash, which was televised live on TBS, WCW United States Heavyweight Champion Sting was in the ring doing an interview. Medusa came out dressed as a harem girl and distracted Sting so WCW World Heavyweight Champion Lex Luger could attack him from behind by clipping his knee, the same one Sting injured in February 1990. Luger then bashed the knee against the runway repeatedly to make it seem like Sting had suffered severe damage. Several face wrestlers, including Bobby Eaton, ran out to run the heel Luger off and take Sting to the hospital. Sting, however, had to defend his title against Rude that night and did not want to leave. Eaton kept telling him he would have time, so he left. Bischoff rode in the ambulance with Sting and gave live updates on the condition of Sting from the hospital between matches to announcers Jim Ross and Tony Schiavone. Meanwhile, Dangerously had found a loophole in the match contract that specifically stated that if Sting was not able to defend his title, he would have to forfeit it to Rude. The announcers relayed the message to Bischoff, who in turn passed it along to Sting. Commotion could be heard in the background as Sting tried to leave the hospital and return to defend his title. When it came time for the match, Sting was a no-show and Dangerously declared Rude the United States Heavyweight Champion. The telecast featured a split screen of the ambulance arriving at the back area of the arena with Sting's knee wrapped up. Dangerously demanded referee Nick Patrick start the match and count Sting out, but he kept interrupting the count, which allowed Sting enough time to make it out to the ring. After having trouble finding the right door to enter the building, his fight song started playing and Sting limped out. Rude met him at the runway with punches, but Sting was so pumped he took it to him instead and the match was underway. Rude defeated Sting, mainly due to his injured knee, with a small package pin. On the following episode of World Championship Wrestling, Dangerously formed his group with Rude, Eaton, Medusa, Arn Anderson, Larry ZBYS ZKO and Stunning Steve Austin. Notable feuds. The Dangerous Alliance went on to dominate WCW for the next 6 months, as Anderson and Eaton won the WCW World Tag Team Championship and Austin held the WCW World Television Championship for a time. Their main feuds were with Sting, Ricky Steamboat, Barry Windham, Dustin Rhodes, and Nikita Koloff. The Alliance and its rivals went back and forth until they settled their issues in a gruesome War Games match at Wrestle War on May 17, 1992 in Jacksonville, Florida. During the match, ZBYS ZKO picked up the turnbuckle Rude removed from the post and Eaton tried to repair and tried to hit Sting with the metal hook. However, he ended up hitting his stablemate Eaton instead, allowing Sting to apply an armbar to Eaton and garner a submission victory for his team. After the match, ZBYS ZKO was expelled from the Alliance, which began the group's downfall. WCW downfall. Rude and Medusa went their own separate way and had much success. Anderson and Eaton started running with Michael Hayes, but they came back to Dangerously when he fired Medusa publicly at Halloween Havoc in October and she came after him. By the end of November 1992, after the Clash of the Champions, the Dangerous Alliance had disbanded after Dangerously left after a bitter contract dispute. Eastern Extreme Championship Wrestling. Dangerously revived the Dangerous Alliance in NWA Eastern Championship Wrestling in 1993 with Jimmy Snuka, Don Muraso, The Dark Patriot and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. By August 1994, when ECW broke away from the NWA and renamed Extreme Championship Wrestling, Dangerously's last incarnation of the Dangerous Alliance, composed of the Tasmaniac, Sabu, and 911. Tasmaniac and Sabu wound up winning the ECW World Tag Team Championship in February 1995, before losing the titles 3 weeks later. In April 1995, Sabu was fired by Dangerously, due to choosing a tour with New Japan Pro Wrestling over overbooking on April 8. In July 1995, the Tasmaniac, now under the name Taz, suffered a serious neck injury during a tag team match in Florida. With Sabu fired and Taz injured, Dangerously finally disbanded the Dangerous Alliance. Arn Anderson, Indiana. An interview video with RF Video referred to the Dangerous Alliance as one of the greatest gatherings of talent ever. However, Anderson opined that it never became a memorable group because of WCW's incompetent bookers failing to promote stars. Members. Our members: Adrian Adonis, Dennis Condrey, he was one half of the original Midnight Express. Paul E. Dangerously, leader and manager of the Alliance. Randy Rose, he was one half of the original Midnight Express. ECW members: 911, The Dark Patriot, Don Muraso, Eddie Gilbert, Jimmy Snuka, Paul Heyman, manager, Sabu, Taz, Tasmaniac. WCW members: Arn Anderson, Bobby Eaton, Larry ZBYS ZKO, Medusa, Vale, Michael P.S. Hayes, manager, Paul E. Dangerously, leader and manager of the Alliance, Rick Rude, Steve Austin, The New Dangerous Alliance, Billy Wiles, C.W. Anderson, Elektra, Vale, Louis, Dangerously, manager, Johnny Swinger, Simon Diamond. Championships. American Wrestling Association Our World Tag Team Championship, Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey. Extreme Championship Wrestling ECW World Heavyweight Championship, Don Muraso. ECW World Tag Team Championship, The Dark Patriot and Eddie Gilbert. The Tasmaniac and Sabu. ECW World Television Championship, Jimmy Snuka. World Championship Wrestling WCW United States Heavyweight Championship Rick Rude WCW World Tag Team Championship Bobby Eaton and Arn Anderson and Larry Zbyszko WCW World Television Championship Steve Austin and Anderson